Greetings, folks. Okay, so got a bunch of questions that have come in, and I'll try and answer as many of them as I can in this one video. The first one is the use of alcohol and drugs in meditation and spiritual development. Now, this one is actually a very, very long answer. So and I've had a lot of emails on this one this year for some reason. Basically, when we look at our stages of development in as a practicer, you have, okay, we'll break it down to levels. If you look at the internal martial arts history and community, they're not practicers per se. They're usually business people. They're family martial arts. They're not dedicated to the development of the group consciousness. They're not dedicated to helping people. They basically train their own family arts and they keep it inside the family. So if you look at the four elements, fire, air, water and earth, you look at a fire imbalance, it's a need to create hierarchy, control, cultish behavior. If you look at an air imbalance, it's a need for intellectual superiority over others. If you look at water element imbalance, it's a need for approval from others. And if you look at the earth element, it's the need for money. Now, most internalists are motivated by these four imbalances. So unless you're striving to overcome your need to control others, your need for approval, your need for intellectual superiority, and your need for money, and living in a physical world, you need money, but that is more of a byproduct of what you're doing, not a major focus. You're not running a business per se, as a practicer who teaches. Okay, so let's, you've got that as the motivation for a lot of people who call themselves practicers, but that's not a practicer. A practicer is a person who has precepts, have ethical guidelines, and they're working for the benefit of the group consciousness. So they're developing themselves to make the world a better place, to give to other people, and to create an environment in which the world is better for them being there and the people that interact with being there. It's not a business. Oops, sorry about that. Okay, so what are these precepts and how do they affect a practicer, spiritual practice? For a novice, an absolute beginner, and if a person doesn't have these, they're not even a beginner, they're not even a practicer. The first is intoxicants, and this is where the question comes up, the effects of alcohol and the drugs. Intoxicants, when a person takes an intoxicant, they fall out of being a practicer, their willpower becomes unstable, their intellect becomes unstable, their social interactions, water element, becomes unstable, their inner piece of the earth element becomes unstable, they become totally destabilized, they become a puppet of their environment. So this type of behavior completely in opposition to what it means to be a practicer. A practicer never touches alcohol because it understands these basic fundamental effects. It never touches intoxicants. You never neutralize your will, because spiritual development is a cultivation of your power of mind, your will. You never go on a ride on a drug. It makes you highly vulnerable, and some of those vulnerabilities are very difficult to undo once they're in. Okay, so the next aspect of intoxicants is the effect it has on your matrices, what connects your mind, your energy system, and your body together. Now, your matrices are what allows your will, your feeling, and your body to connect to develop samadhi. So when you sit in posture, you give yourself a gentle stretch, you tune in your body into life force to support your mental, astral, and physical meditation. That matrix connection is dissolved when you take intoxicants. So if there's alcohol or drugs, it neutralizes. That means your capacity to concentrate is reduced and diminished. Now, any of you who have done an extensive amount of practice and you don't drink alcohol in order to achieve success in that, and then you might have a barbecue and you might have a couple of beers in the weekend, and then you try practice that day or the next day, the stillness is gone. That centeredness of the bodies to concentrate and be still has vanished. It's literally disappeared. Your samadhi that you've built over the years is gone. Now it's a rhythmic dissolving. The system does remember and it'll slowly come back, but it can take days to a month and even longer. I talked to one person who took a pretty heavy so-called spiritual drug. It took him 1 year to come back. And I have talked to people who have never come back, who have been disrupted for life. So as you look at this, it's one of the most important precepts to honor. A teacher would never put alcohol or drugs in their system. Hello. So very, very important. This is the first thing you drop. Okay, sexual behaviors. You always have to honor the person you're having interaction with. A practicer would never go and pay a prostitute for sex, because that's rooted in the body. Sex always has to come from the heart. It has to be real, has to be genuine, and each person has to walk away with having felt better for the experience. That was a positive growth experience for both of them. That it's not of the flesh. It's of a higher frequency. Now, the next precept is integrity, or the thou shalt not steal. So all the business interactions, if you're a meditation teacher and someone comes to your workshop, the amount of money they pay, you have to ensure they get more than that value in their life experience. You never want to rip somebody off. There has to be integrity. So if there's a certain price set on something, you have to ensure that people get more value than what you charge. And that creates a positive feedback loop of good luck, good merit, trust. People speak well about you. And that integrity field, as that builds up, you find that people will automatically feel very, very comfortable and trusting around you. That's a build-up of a particular type of karma. All right, then we have the precept of non-harming. Now, non-harming as a precept also comes into your ethics. It also comes into your sexual practices. Also comes into alcohol. Most domestic violence is related to alcohol. It's related to drugs. It's related to ethics. It's related to sexuality. So to not harm people is very, very, very important. To live in resonance with gentleness and being good to people and having integrity with people. And if you have a harmful energy around you, you can't cultivate samadhi. Concentration won't arise because it requires a quietude that harmful energy disrupts. So having a genuine sense of non-harming in your system. Okay, from there we look at how the and of course truth is the last one. Now the concept of truth starts with looking in the mirror to really know yourself. When you're in complete in integrity with who you are as a person, and that you recognize yourself and you're true with yourself, then you can be true with others. And of course you put a lot of emphasis on truth in speech, but most people that are lying, they don't know they're lying. They're embellishing the truth. They're exaggerating. So they're that's sweet. They're when they're lying, they're not fully aware that that's happening. Okay, so you take these 5 basic precepts and you live by them. What they do is they build a safety net so that when the law of rhythm moves you up and down when you drop, the safety net only lets you go so low. If you're not taking these precepts, the safety net can take you to a very, very low place. And this is where you have this concept of heaven and hell. You have a practicer who has very high levels of concentration, but let's say doesn't take his precepts and doesn't live by his precepts, his behaviors can be very, very up and down. His energy can go very, very up and down. And if he is lucky enough or unlucky enough to develop high levels of Samahati light in Akasha without precepts, basically that's opening the door to hell. Now let's say you're a person who was homeless, you're a drug addict, and you have a terrible life and you die. You're not going to go to hell, you're going to go to reincarnate because you're a weak person. But what if you're a strong person and you break your precepts? That opens the door straight to those lower hell realms, and that's exactly where you go because you're a person of power with no ethics. So the first red flag on looking at any teacher, if they put alcohol in their mouth, and if they're a person of power without any ethics, stay away from them because they can take you to hell. It's not a good place to be. The irony is they can't even see it. Okay, so let's continue. So that's a novice practicer. Now, when you go above novice practicer, you start taking vows. So an intermediate practicer will go, well, I'm a teacher. I will dedicate the merit of all my practice to the students I'm going to teach, and they'll take that vow, and they will study and practice everything for the benefit of their students, so their students can be better than them. So the next generation is better than the current generation, which is better than the last generation. So this way of thinking is super important. If you're a healer, you're studying medicine to heal people. You're studying for your patients, for the benefit of your patients. A good doctor is there for the patients, not there for themselves. So all those years of study wasn't for them, it was to heal people. And that type of vow makes you a great healer, and so forth. So whatever your path is, you do what you do for the benefit of people on your path of service. This is the intermediate level. Now, and at a more advanced level would be those vows would have a very profound and non-self ideal inside them. So you would be practicing for the benefit of all sentient beings. And for this to be genuine, that you sit down to meditate and then you dedicate the merit, the energy of your meditation to people you don't even know before you practice, and then you practice, the genuineness of that giving connects you to infinity, because there's infinite beings. And that infinity gives you infinite experiences in your meditation, and you get put on a very fast track to spiritual development. That track can be extremely quick. Now, when we work with these different types of principles, this leveling up, as we might put it, it requires it's a lifestyle in how you live, how you think, how you practice. It's not something that you can just say without putting your heart into it. It has to be from the heart in order for these principles to work and function. And if you're not doing these things from the heart, they simply don't work. So, quick summary. Non-practicers, internalists, they teach with a closed heart, they hide everything, they're doing it for business, they show cultish behaviors of controlling others, there's hierarchy there's need for intellectual superiority over others, they have to prove themselves, they need this social approval thing. There's all these things in place that are obviously wrong. They don't need to be there. They have nothing to do with spiritual development, and they're more for cultish fools. Then we have novice practices. They have their precepts. They have their ethics code. They dedicate themselves to benefit others in their spiritual practice. They make the world a better place. In immediate practices, their vows are for the benefit of others, but specifically in their path. And then advanced practices have non-self ideals, and they dedicate to merit all sentient beings. And these characters usually are leading a saintly life, and they're following the saintly path. They may become monks from any religious system, and they're generally there for others. Okay, so this this framework, this hill's a lot steeper than it looks. Okay, so this framework is it's, if you watch this video a few times, really get to understand the principles that I'm talking about, you'll find that by following them, your development will speed up. Your spiritual growth will go into a much higher rate of development, and it'll save you a lot of years of going around in circles. Okay, thanks for your time, and see you on the next video.